Liat back there, I don't know, she's probably closing a deal. The businesswoman extraordinaire, but also someone who I'm just amazed by her resilience and what she's only gone through. But not only, again, the resilience, persistence, and the humor of which she approaches it all is amazing and inspirational for all of us. So without further ado, Liat Kahwan.
All right, so my first thing I want to start off by saying is, I don't know an appropriate way to say it, but everyone has their crap or their thing they go through. There's no one who gets through life without going through their thing, whatever it is, whether it's having a difficult time meeting someone or a health issue or, you know, heartbreak, whatever it is. Everyone has their thing. And this is something that you learn when you have an issue that you go through yourself and you're open about it with others. You know, I don't like to plan things that I speak about. I teach a lot of students all the time about behavior and all these different things. And if you're one of my friends, you're like, Liat, shut up. Hani's like, yeah, that's me. But she tunes into all my Instagram lives, so. So I don't really like to plan before I speak. But there's some things, and you know, they say that man or woman plans and God laughs. But to me, I felt like it was more along the lines of God believed in me. So until I was 9, I would say 9, Gal was born when I was 6. When I was 9, Gal was diagnosed with autism. Up until that point, I think we literally were the perfect family in terms of my parents would ride a tandem bicycle. It was perfect, 2 seats in the back of a buggy. Me and my sister sat in. We brought our Bichon Frise with us. I mean, we were literally perfect. There wasn't an extra seat for Gal. But it wasn't because he was diagnosed with autism that made it difficult. It was because of the behaviors that he engaged in, sitting on people's laps naked or whatever it was. It was just like, I'm trying to be cool here with the cool kids, you know? And Gal would do that. So that was difficult, but I went on from there and I felt lucky because I, unlike other kids, I knew what I wanted in life. All I wanted to do was be a special ed teacher. I wanted to be a teacher before that, but now I have this goal. I want to be a special ed teacher. While other kids are trying to find themselves from age 10, I'd say, I knew what I wanted to do. So I had a plan. Unlike a lot of my friends, whatever it was, I had this plan. So went to school, applied to Maryland. Golly, seeing something funny. Applied to Maryland, the only school I wanted to go to. Got rejected twice. But I was persistent, made sure they got me in there. I mean, it was pathetic they rejected me. I had all the special needs kids I worked with in high school write a letter like, Dear Maryland, you want Liat because she has nice hair, or she is nice to me, she smiles sometimes, you know? They still said no. Joke is, they're still asking me for donations now that I went there and got my master's there, so, and bachelor's. And now they call me for donations. I'm like, listen, I'm donating $40,000 left in student loans to you all the time. So I went to their 5-year program for the bachelor's, master's program combined. When I turned 21, anyone who knows me before, I was really athletic. I'm talking like my show and tell was always doing push-ups and like an abnormal strength, I'd say. Then one day, I was 21 years old in college, I woke up and I couldn't handle feeling my sheets on my body. It was like someone was laying cinder blocks on me. And I'm like, what is going on? So my ponytail was resting on my shoulder and my pony felt like it weighed 1,000,000 pounds. I mean, I had thick hair, but not that thick. And I'm like, what is going on? My hands, I couldn't move. I was locked in my dorm room, or it was an apartment at the time. I couldn't open the door, so I'm like banging on it for my roommate to open, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I can't use my hands. I didn't know, but that was the start of me being diagnosed with lupus. I should have said, a day before this, I found out the news that my dad had cancer again. I think I took it the hardest because my sister was already married. Gal was Gal, so he was just happy always, and I was just like, so I think that does show that stress definitely has some correlation to, so stay calm, everyone. And so I had lupus now. School was really hard. I mean, I literally did school from a hospital bed, most of it. I was in GW hospital in DC, then out, then I was in, then I was out. And getting in with a rheumatologist is hard because they have their patients for life. They're not like discharging anyone. So to get in is like, I hope someone graduates medical school soon and becomes a rheumatologist, because no one wants to take you in. So it was difficult. My parents were here, but I was now a sick girl, right? Like I had these issues that, other young people didn't have to think about. I had to think about, oh, I can't go out. Not only could I not go out and drink with friends, like I literally had to think about, do I walk to class today or do I write this paper? Like I have limited energy. I got to choose what I do. So, okay, I had lupus, challenge accepted, whatever, I'll take it. I'm still gonna finish school. Along the way, I had to leave school. I was like, I can't do the fifth year anymore. I'm just too sick in the hospital. Made my dad come drive me back to Dallas. A few weeks later, I'm like, I don't care, I'm going back. I call the head of the program and I'm like, listen, I'm coming to do that 5th year. I don't care, I'm leaving with a master's degree. So my dad drove me back and it was annoying because I gave away all my furniture before that. So I had to move back in, but anyway, with random people. And so I'm back there for that 5th year. Me getting that master's degree was huge, bigger than for any of my other peers. And I mean, I don't know their challenges. You never know what someone else is going through. But I mean, all you're doing is student teaching that year. When you don't have an immune system and you're on all these immune system drugs or immunosuppressants to make your immune system not work, anyone sneezes and you're like, you gotta freak out because you're like, I really have no immune system. So I was sick all the time, but I didn't care. I had to finish. So I did. And then I got a job working at a charter school. I wanted to be a hero, help kids in the hood. I started working at the school. I lasted about a full month, including the staff training. That was 2 weeks. These kids would come in with colds, everything they had, and I was just hospitalized. And I said, okay, I can't do this. So I still was living in an apartment with my good friend, and I said, okay. I went to Maryland. We learned a lot about behavior. It was very behavior-based. I'm sure it'll be easy if I just go back to school and study applied behavior analysis. So I signed up for it. I was in the classes, in and out of the hospital all the time. It was online, but it was a lot of coursework. You had about 30 hours of videos a week and tests and whatever it was. But I did it. So I go through that. Then I had to get 1,500 hours, supervised hours. Now, if you're someone who has the ability to work full time, you could do that pretty easily in probably a year or something like that. I couldn't. I could only work a few hours, a few days a week because my health only allowed that. So I did these hours, and when I was done, I was like, yes, I'm taking this test. There's a test called the BCBA exam to be a board certified behavior analyst. I was all ready to take it, get ready to study. Again, I planned. God laughed or believed in me. So I got really sick, and I was living in Austin at the time, but I was home for Rosh Hashanah. And so I was here sick, and I didn't have a rheumatologist or anything because I'd never lived here with an illness. I had always been out of town. So I was really sick, like to the point, it was bad. And so I had some doctors seeing me here. I was in and out of the ER. Eventually they said, Liat, we need to take out your gallbladder. Okay, whatever. You just listen to whatever the doctor says, right? So they did it. Okay. I had been feeling good after that. I was really skinny because I had been really sick. I didn't know that I had C. diff also. That's kind of bad, really bad. But you lose a lot of weight, so that's a good thing. So I'm like, whatever, I'm not moving back to Dallas, but I'm gonna go on a date. I'm feeling good. Get on J-Swipe. I go out with this Israeli dude. Eliran. I said, listen, I'll go on a date with you, but do not try selling me a hair straightener. So I go on this date. On the date, Eliran, I don't know how we communicated. When I think about it now, he really spoke. I think he only knew the speech of how to sell skincare and a hair straightener. I think we actually did have Google Translate like passing between us. And so I go on this date, and on the date, I'm an open book always. So I'm like, I have a lot of health issues. It brought me back here. I don't plan on living here. I'm gonna go back to Austin. I have an apartment there, blah, 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 and my health, and I got my gallbladder up. And he's like, no, why you talk about your health so much? It doesn't make you who you are. And I'm like, okay. He didn't know. Fast forward a little bit, I'm gonna be losing 3 fingers, but.
Where you are today.
Yeah. So, we go on this date. That's all I remember from then on. I remember that, and then I didn't really remember the next 6 months. So what had happened, when I went on that date before it, I had itchy hands after the surgery. I said, my hands are so itchy, I'm going crazy. But it was only a few hours a day, then it would stop. Then it would start again. I take Benadryl, go to the doctor. They did a biopsy of my skin, couldn't figure out what's going on. Okay. Then it started getting really bad. It was beyond itchy. It was as if someone had a fishing wire tied around the end of my fingers. Like a pain that, I have lupus, that's chronic pain. This was a pain that no one should ever have to experience. I mean, literally just watching it get tighter and tighter and tighter. And they started going purple, then they started going black. But in this, I'm in the ICU also. I have Dr. Schulten with me in the ICU with a pick in my heart and trying to pump whatever they can to me. Nothing's working. Okay, great. No amount of Dilaudid would touch me. I mean, I could literally eat those pills by the bottle, and hey, I'm not a heroin addict, so this is great, So, yeah, that happened, and I never wanted to move to Dallas. That was the ultimate not cool thing to do, to come back from where you're from. As a modern Orthodox Jew, who am I gonna meet? There's no one here. But God had plans. I went out with this guy. I didn't remember the entire first 5 months of our relationship. At some point, I said, Eliran, we can't be together anymore. I know nothing about you. It's actually like being with a stranger. He's like, what? I said, I don't know anything about you. I don't know how many people are in your family. I don't know your parents' name. He's like, I've told you all this. I was so drugged that I didn't remember anything. So we had to start a relationship over again. I was in such a dark place with my fingers, and I couldn't do anything. I had to someone wipe me in the bathroom. I had to people dress me. I couldn't, and it's probably a blessing that I couldn't kill myself, because to be honest, that's all I wanted. I would just say, I just want to be dead. I don't want this. I would scream on top of my lungs, doctors, just cut my entire hands off. I don't care. I'm happy they didn't listen to me. I have such a great mother. I mean, my whole family was there, and everyone in the community was all around me. But I mean, I can't imagine as a mother what I made her do. I said, I really need to write. I feel like I need a journal, but I can't use my hands. Mom, I need you to write all the reasons I want to die. So she wrote it for me, and I saw it in a diary recently. But again, I couldn't use my hands. So, yes. So all these things I wanted, and then my hands started falling off. I thought of all these things, like who's gonna want to eat at my house ever when my fingers are off? That's so gross. They're gonna think there's a finger in the food, and this is gross. And who's gonna want to be with me? What guy's gonna want to be with me? My fingers are gone. Blah 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 blah. But God had a plan. Through this, I had toxic shock twice. I don't think I realized how severe it was, and I don't even look at that as a main part of my story, but it should be, because I've heard a lot of crazy stories in the Jewish community, even of people who have lost all their limbs. So it puts things into perspective, like, okay, I've lost 3 fingertips, whatever. And it also happens to be that the fingers I lost are fingers you don't need to function necessarily. I mean, I'm someone, I do like the middle finger, but you could still hold a pencil without your middle finger. You could do everything. As long as you have your pointer and your thumb, you're good. And I have 1 middle finger. So, but it's just, I actually have to think before I give it. It's like, because if you give it and you give the one that's missing, it's like, they're like, joke's on you, So, I just put more effort into what I do. They say you should think before you act. So, I do. So when I came out of this whole drug coma, and thank God I had great doctors at Hopkins who, at the time, I hated because they took me off the pills. They were like, this girl is gone. So they took me off of all the Dilaudid drips I was on and this and that, and I was mad. But thank God, because again, I'm not addicted to anything now, and eventually I got my fingertips amputated. They wanted them to fall off naturally, but eventually it was just too much pain and infection, and my body was trying to fight them off. So I got them amputated. From that day on, I never took another pain pill. And so back to this test situation. I couldn't remember a 2-number sequence, let alone study for this board exam, which is very difficult and really deep. Every single detail about behavior, why anyone does anything they do, a totally different language. I said, I'm taking this test, I don't care. So in order to keep the longest length of my, or keep the most length of my fingers, I decided for the option of having them open wounds on the end. So they could just like scrape off the dead part, and as opposed to, you know, if they cut it to a nub, then they could like sew it shut. So, and when I saw them for the first time, I fainted. I was like, oh my God, because they were open wounds, like out of a murder scene. Brooklyn, my good friend here, came over and I was like, would you mind helping me change this? And she was like, and she did it. I don't know how. So they had to be changed 4 times a day, but I studied for this test, and it was really hard for me because I've been on ADD meds since I was in 4th grade, and I couldn't take those meds at the time because they were vasoconstrictors. So I said, how am I gonna do this? I also have to learn how to remember 2-number sequences, let alone all this stuff that I had learned in these courses. I did it. I studied for this test. Every day I would go sit at a coffee shop for about 8 hours a day. I would just sit there and I would write my notes out beautifully with these bandages. I had all my pens, all my pretty paper, everything there for me to just make this studying fun. I said, I have to remember it somehow. I was never very brilliant at all. School was difficult for me. Everything for my sister came easy. I would get 100% only because I would add like Christmas lights to my projects. So they had to forever. And my sister would get it because she'd be like, all right, it's on there. That's everything they need to get 100, you know? So I had to kind of redefine every part of who I was, everything I ever did. I had to start over again. I was someone who, like, even something as simple as, I like all drinks cold. If I had a coffee, I want an iced coffee, not a hot coffee. If I want to be in a room, I want it to be cold, not this. If I want to go out and enjoy things, I'm impulsive. I want to go do it. I couldn't do any of that anymore. I still always have a hot hand in my hand, and I have to be very careful about temperatures in general. Even you guys may not feel any gust of wind in here, but I do. So I really had to start everything over again and pick up the pieces. And so I did this. I took this test. I passed this test. I then got a job. I was too petrified to get a job because I said, there's no way I could show up every day. I know with my health, it puts too much pressure on me, I get sick. I had a job, I worked as a clinician for a little, but I had this side business of, when I was studying, I had an Instagram account and I would post all the pretty pictures of my notes because I liked seeing them. Aesthetically, it was pleasing. They were beautiful notes. And people would follow me, my notes, who were studying in the field. They would find it and they were like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I want to do it. So when I passed the test, I decided to pay it forward because another nice Jewish girl in New York had offered to supervise me when I was getting my hours for free. Usually you charge like $100 an hour for supervision as a BCBA. She's like, I'll do it for free, do something nice for someone later. I said, okay. So I taught this to people for free. I said, if you want to get on, come on, I'm getting on a Zoom chat room. I'm gonna teach you guys for this test. And I started this whole method of making pretty notes and all this stuff, and people passed when they did it with me. And it really changed when one girl who had taken the test 7 times took my study course and she passed. and she posted in this huge group of 30,000 people. And suddenly I went from having 30 people signed up for my class to having to increase the room size so that I could have over 200 people, like all at one time. And it was just like, wow. So this whole time I took the test, I got a job, got married in Israel. God was looking out for me. I got this good looking stud over here. He cooks, he cleans. I mean, what more could I want? He does my hair. Just bought a house. And yeah, this sick girl did all that. So I have a blessing of, I get to enjoy life more than the average person, I'd say, until you go through something like this, as I'm sure you know. It's a blessing. I get to go every day and I'm like, I feel great today. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do everything. And that's what I've done as my motto for everything I'm doing. This business, thank God, has been really successful. And it's because every day I wake up and I say, let's go. I feel good. That could also be an illness, a problem with the illness, because you have to take it easy. So every now and then, don't get me wrong, it sounds perfect. I got a job, got married, bought a house, whatever. It sounds perfect, but I do check into the hospital every now and then, refill. It actually happens to be usually on Shabbos or on holidays, because that's the one day I turn off. And it seems like I always end up in the hospital on those days. But yeah, so I get to enjoy life more. I can cool myself down in the summer. I can with my own hands. It's pretty cool. All you guys are sweating. I could just go like this, and I feel like I have an ice pack on, whether I'm outside in Texas or not. But my whole business, the reason it's been successful is because I started it all with my vulnerability. On class night 1, it's called, I've signed up for the test, now where the hell do I start? And I start off by telling my story about my hands, how it happened. I took this test with bandages on my hands. I studied every single day. And I say, what's your why? Why are you doing this? Are you doing this so that you could afford, you're a single mom, you could take care of your kid now? Are you doing this now because everyone told you you could never make anything of yourself? What's your why? And people really bought into this story. They really liked it. And vulnerability, let's go Brene, really is power. Because as a behaviorist, I don't like to talk about mentalistic things in terms of what's vulnerability. That's like very abstract. So I look at the behavior of it. So, and I'd say I'm a pretty hardcore behaviorist. And I look at why behaviors maintain or they last, and my vulnerability or behavior of being relatable to others and sharing my story and being open about it, as opposed to hiding my hands like this. If you see me like this, it's usually just because my hands are freezing. And I have amazing prosthetics that cost more than my wedding band, but I don't wear them anymore because that's what meant so much to me. But now I'm like, this is me, like it or hate it. Whatever. So I look at the behavior of it and I see, wait, my behavior of telling this story more has been really reinforced. People love it. It's opened up a communication line between so many people. You wouldn't believe how many messages I get a day on my social media platform being like, so I have this every person in the world I'm pretty sure has an autoimmune disease at this point. I mean, as to some extent or something or some loss or whatever it is. And so my behavior's been really reinforced. So I keep doing it. I keep telling it and people eat it up. So if you want someone to like you, this is just a general rule for everyone. Open up about your vulnerability. Be real. Don't present it as a pity story. There's also like a good medium of presenting it as like, hey, this is what I have, it sucks, but this is how I deal with it. You know, you don't want to be like, yeah, it's scary, I might lose another finger tomorrow. Yeah, I might, but it's better to present it like, hey, I got it under control, I have hot hands with me, I go to the ER when I need fluids, they pump me up with Dilaudid, it's great, I get high for a minute, and then I leave. You know, then people could like laugh about it as opposed to being freaked out. So now I've created this whole study method. People love it. I also started a podcast letting people in the world know all about behavior and how it applies to us in so many different settings. We have over 135,000 downloads in the past 5 months since it's been around, which is crazy. People actually care to listen to what we're saying. I've created my dream job. I love stationery, pens, stickers, anything along those lines. That's all part of the study program. People sign up for it. They get all these pretty pens and stuff. You know, I'm so thankful every day, but it is a reminder of, wow. And it reminded me, oh my gosh, 3 years ago, I remember that Thanksgiving. I was in the ICU at Medical City. So I couldn't see it, but God could through all of this. And God believed in me. And every single part of my story led me to where I am now. From having gall diagnosed to wanting to be a special ed teacher. Couldn't do that. Okay, Liat, try next way. Okay, I'll do ABA therapy. Oh no, okay. So now I'm in the dream position that I could want to be in. And yes, I'm sure I'll have more challenges along the way. Lupus sucks. Scleroderma sucks. Raynaud's sucks. Fibromyalgia sucks, whatever it is. But everyone has their thing, whether they have a name or not. So, again, God believed in me, and it's really helped me to the point, and everyone else believed in me, including Eliran, which I give him praise, and my dad as an investor should be very proud of him, because he made the best investment ever. He bought when the stock was low. So, that's all. So thanks, guys.